Ladies and gentlemen, 'twas some nights before Christmas, and all through Duval, all you Jags fans having fun watching these cats ball. This is Kyle Nash, of the game of the Duval Dive.
I'm Travis Holmes with BigCatCountry.com, man.
Of course, you listen to this thing on the Believe Podcast Network. Travis wasn't ready for that one. For me to come out the gate with the Yuletide action, but hey, some of you may not have been ready for him in a Santa hat. Here, you need to check that out back on the Duval Dive YouTube channel if you want to get an image of it there too. See right there, Travis tells me don't forget about the YouTube channel. Boom, out the gate. There you go. With all that being said, listen, Duval. Here's something that I find most interesting: whether or not it's how much the national media do or don't watch the Jags, whether or not it's the ascension of Trevor Lawrence, whether or not it's everything going on with these Jaguars and what they have and haven't done since the days of Mark Brunell or 1999 or whatever. Man, howdy, Duval Divers, Duval Devout. You're sure as hell in the news lately, and it's a fun thing to behold for you, I'm sure, Travis. What can you tell me, man? How I just yeah, right. It's just Robert comes in. I forgot the reference myself. Not bad for a small market team, says Robert.
Hey, man, we had already talked about it, and Sean Payton came out and then later said, he made his comment saying, I meant it as a compliment, like we said beforehand.
I even interpreted it that way. Correct.
Right, you said it the same thing, but also Liam Coen did what a good coach does and use that to his team's advantage in finding like Michael Jordan used to do. That man will find anything as a slight and everything as a slight because that's what winners do. You find ways to make all these things slights, and you just become petty. You petty your way into greatness, basically.
You petty your way into greatness. Clip that, folks. That's what I'm talking about. Petty your way into greatness. Merry Christmas. No, listen, I think, but seriously, that's a great point. Whether it's Michael Jordan, whether it's Tom Brady, the infamy of bulletin board material is there. And listen, people act like, Travis, that coaches at the mic and press conferences don't matter. But I think what we definitely learned in the past month or so is that Liam Coen has set that table for this locker room to be the atmosphere it has and has taken advantage of things that don't look like mistakes and turned them into such, right? Respect ain't coming was where it starts for all this, if not before, right?
Well, it's funny because the last general manager and the last head coach in Jacksonville, they will just pretend that anything that was happening outside of the building wasn't happening. Meanwhile, these new guys, they seem to be more like these new age players because they're closer to the age of these players. They remember the time when they were playing. They know, even if you say these things aren't happening because we're just keeping it in-house, these guys got ears. These guys got eyes. They watch TV. They got family who talk to them about this stuff all the time and friends who all they want to do is talk to them about this all the time. They all know. So instead, this coaching staff, this general manager, this front office who also has a history in the media, they all are just leaning into it and just saying straight up, hey, nah, man, this is happening. And you know what? It's happening in the ways that we're framing the narrative. That's what it is. We're going to tell you how it's happening, and we're going to be all together because of it.
And I think Robert Lambertson in the comments right behind Robert Edzard is in there. It's relatable. I think that's the correct the way the correct way to kind of take all that and what we're actually seeing is that relatability. And of course, Robert Lambertson, yes, happy Eve to you as well for those that celebrate as we record here live on the Duval Dive YouTube channel for the stream here on the 23rd. That is Eve, right? Make sure you get that right. Technically speaking, Christmas is 364 Eves or 65 Eves to Christmas Eve the next year. It's a whole thing. Anyway, I know I went a little too far with that. But
we're already in the conversation talking about how everyone's shaping the narrative. Some people aren't watching. Some people are just digging trenches and all of this stuff. And I just wrote the Pro Bowl articles. I mean, if you guys have been under a rock or maybe just working real hard Christmas Eve, I get that too. The Eve before Christmas Eve, I should say. The Pro Bowl, the Pro Bowl roster was released today on Tuesday from the NFL and the Jaguars. They announced that Ross Matisic, lone snapper for the Jaguars, is the lone Pro Bowler for the Jacksonville Jaguars as far as the starters are concerned.
Wow.
And that was a little shocking, but also if they're not watching, not as shocking. And that's the biggest piece of this. I mean, this is just another, like I wrote the article on bigcatcountry.com. I believe that this is nothing more than a gift wrap Merry Christmas present to Liam Coen and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Just one more nugget to say, here you go. Yeah, just one more thing to say. I told you they ain't watching. Because if they was watching, you would have been a Pro Bowler. You would have been a Pro Bowler. All y'all would have been Pro Bowler. And I'm not saying that all these
Pro Bowl Oprah Winfrey right there.
Oprah Winfrey, absolutely. And that's not to say all these guys are absolutely snubs, but come on, man. Like, the fact of the matter is Devin Lloyd, Josh Hines, Allen, Parker Washington, Cam Little weren't Pro Bowlers. They were like, some of these guys were end up being alternates, like looking Washington, Lloyd, Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne. Sorry. They all were named alternates, but we can get into it. Like, I mean, let's start. Yeah. Robert Lamson says, let's hope Ross doesn't have to play in the Pro Bowl. If the Jags aren't a Super Bowl, you got things to do. I definitely understand that. I'm gonna start with the positive stuff. All right,
please.
D-Rock, ESPN.
Michael D-Rock, absolutely.
Yeah. The Jags have outscored their opponents by 113 points during the 6-game winning streak. That's an average margin of victory of 18.8 points per game. The 2024 Jaguars averaged 18.8 points per game. So that's letting you know just how incredible this 6-game winning streak, how incredible this Jacksonville Jaguars team has been since the bye week. And a lot of these folks have just missed it. And this was a conversation I had with one of my boys earlier today. So I want to just lay out why I think this is happening to a lot of these Jacksonville Jaguars players. Pro Bowl voting for fans started 3 days after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Jacksonville Jaguars were on a bye week. What happened 2 weeks before that bye week? They got mollywopped by the rain. They got beat by the Seahawks, and they got beat by the Rams in London. That they were coming off from being a 4-1 football team to now being a team full of turmoil with injuries and all of this other stuff. Trevor Lawrence wasn't looking great. The offense wasn't looking super explosive. And then immediately Travis Hunter gets injured. And you're like, what is this team? Who is this team? From a perspective of a player who doesn't play against Jacksonville, who probably doesn't watch them like that, from a perspective of a fan, who's probably not watching the Jaguars like that, and they're only listening to the national media guys who also we know are not watching. How then do you make how do you vote for the Pro Bowl at that point? And because of that, Ross Madison and Cam Little were the only two Jaguars players who finished in the top 10 of fan voting. That's before we even get to the players. That's just the fan voting. Madison was 10th and Little was 4th. And that's after he set a preseason, record-setting field goal and then did it again in the regular season. That's what it took for him to be 4th. So Devin Lloyd, who had 4 interceptions before the bye week, and he missed a few games. Parker Washington, multiple touchdown returns. Hines Allen, none of those guys were top 10. Like, that lets me know they just ain't watching, because there's no way those guys aren't top 10 unless it's absent to you, if that makes sense.
Well, and I think there's another element too that comes into play. All great points you make, of course, Travis, about the timing of it all. I forgot that Pro Bowl voting opened on Cyber Monday during that bye week after 2 horrible tastes in the mouth of the football public, be you Duval diver or otherwise. But I think there's another element here, and it is the awkward moment where I say the biggest issue offensively towards the Pro Bowl might be Trevor Lawrence. What? No. Hear me out. I'm not Jason Trent. I am not a Trevor Lawrence hater. Shouts to Jaguars United. But what I mean is Trevor Lawrence has been distributing the ball to receivers all over the damn roster throughout the season. And by receivers, I don't mean wide receivers. I mean mofos who catch the ball. This means tight ends. This means running backs, right? Yeah. If Jason Trent were here, he's like, Kyle, why are you yelling? Because that's how I talk. Because this is a big point to me, right? I don't care if it's Bayshaw Tootin. I don't care if it's Travis Etienne. I don't care if it's Tim Patrick. These are all dudes that have had significant moments and gains. And by the way, Parker out there somewhere, So With all that in mind, and losing Travis Hunter, by the way, is another offensive player who's accruing stats where others aren't. I think it artificially takes the fans, which fans generally box score watch because they have lives. And on top of that, do you understand? I had to go to a bar the past 2 weeks to watch the Jaguars here in damn Orlando. I'm 2 hours away. I can't even find the beep game. Okay.
Right. So it's hard to see him. It's hurting your fantasy football thing, your fantasy football lineup, because you're just spreading the ball around. And well, yeah. And Trevor Lawrence's situation going into that time frame when you're voting makes it an unstable situation overall. Like looking at the Trevor Lawrence situation, at least I get that though. Like that was one of the few ones that I wouldn't necessarily even consider that I wouldn't even necessarily consider a snub, because again, that timing that I was talking about, the timing that when everything's happening.
Of course.
And like he probably would have had a legitimate argument if you were to make the vote now over Justin Herbert. Their numbers are pretty much the same. But overall, that's one of the few that I get. One of the ones I don't get. All right. So TJ Watt was selected over Hines Allen. They both got 7 sacks. They have the same number of sacks, but Josh Hines Allen has 30 more quarterback pressure and a 5% higher, more than a 5% higher pressure rate. Like it's not even close to those two guys. But Watt, shout out John Shipley, Jaguars on that side. He pointed out TJ Watt is 4th on his own team in pressure rate. Like, how are you in the Pro Bowl over that? That don't make sense at all.
It helps when your franchise is the second most popular in fan base in the nation.
It's name recognition for a team that has 2 less wins than the Jacksonville Jaguars. And man, yeah, Devin. That's what Jarvis says. Devin Lloyd and Josh got snubbed. Oh yeah, let's talk about Devin Lloyd. Devin Lloyd got snubbed twice, in my opinion.
Snubbed twice. Okay, I need help with it. How does he get snubbed twice? This is
all right. So he was selected. So Roquan Smith of Baltimore Ravens was selected over Devin Lloyd, and Azeez Al-Shaair was selected over Devin Lloyd.
Wow.
I think that there is a legitimate argument for Devin Lloyd to be in over both of those guys. Not one of them, both of them. So Roquan had 124 tackles to Lloyd's 70, and that was the big one because he was a tackle merchant. And I'm not saying that as a derogatory thing, but it's literally what folks have been arguing against for Foye Oluokun for years, because they were just saying he's a tackle merchant. He's not making any of the splash plays and any of the things to be a game changer. He's just a guy who's collecting tackles. And I'm like, all right, cool. So are we going to extrapolate that and apply that to Roquan Smith? Or are we just going, is that only a Foye thing, right? So in saying that, he had 0 sacks. He had 0 interceptions, Roquan Smith. He just had a lot of tackles. That was it. And I'm like, all right, cool. But meanwhile, you got Azeez, who had 96, I believe it was, tackles. And I'm like, well, again, Devin Lloyd has 70. You're in the shooting range now. Azeez has 1 interception. Devin Lloyd is 2nd in the dang NFL with 5. This is the wildest part. If Devin Lloyd had a CB next to his name instead of an LB, he would be in the Pro Bowl right now.
That's a great point, Travis.
That's the wildest part to me. And I'm like, yo, he is 2nd in the NFL with interceptions. How the hell is he not in the Pro Bowl? That don't even make sense to me. So that was the biggest part. So I'm like, there's a legitimate argument for him to absolutely be better than Azeez. But it's Azeez gets that credit. Azeez gets that recognition because of his penalties, because of the bad things that he does, because of the injuries and the questionable, we'll say, late hits or the close hits that he gets. And now he's the villain and all of that surrounding media attention. He gets the attention from that.
Oh, wow. You're throwing the no pub is bad pub defense, and I can't refute that. That's a good point.
People focus on him because of all the stuff and all the baggage that's come in from the Trevor Lawrence hit and all the penalties and suspensions and all of that stuff that's happened since then. That's what I think it is. So Devin Lloyd absolutely got snubbed, not once but twice, because I would argue that he's probably should have been in over both of those guys, but at bare minimum, one of them.
Yeah, no, it's same thing heads here. Down with the NFL at this point. Small market is underestimated. You know what? Hey, if Liam Coen has his way, that's Super Bowl talk, Duval. Keep it up.
It is underestimated because, like, there's only a few guys who I like. At least I understood it, like with Travis Etienne's numbers, like taking the big hit since the bye. We've been talking about this for weeks. How the running game like has been a little bit diminished since the bye week, and that probably hurt him a little bit because he's not on those lists where every time you see the television or you're looking on the socials, those top 5 running backs in the NFL list or in fantasy football or whatever the thing is. And the same thing applies for Cam. The kicker for the Chargers, Dicker the kicker, I forget his real name. That he's been having such a heck of a season. Like that makes sense why. Yeah, it's an uphill climb for Cam, but at least he made it close. But people ain't watching the games, and that's my overall point. If you're not watching the games, then every time you do watch the games, you then going to sound like someone like a Richard Sherman. You're going to sound like your boy from Denver, the cornerback.
Akeem Talib or Emmanuel Acho or these.
You're going to sound like these guys because they're going to continue. Because they're going to continue moving the goalposts. Because it's like, obviously, this can't be the Jacksonville Jaguars team I saw before the bye week. This must be a down week for Houston. This must be a down week for the Chargers. This must be a down week for the Colts, etc. Because it just can't be that this team is actually this good. And meanwhile, they're 11 wins in and just like, all right, cool. Let's keep
down weeks.
Yeah, just got to catch them all. That's it.
No, man, I like how you're putting that. I never thought of it that way. Jarvis with a good point. LaShawn McCoy hates us too. He ain't watched the game lately, so you're probably right about that. And I don't mean a game. I don't mean Jags. I mean NFL games. Period. Anyways, I said what I said. Anyway,
this is the argument that you and I were having before the pod, like just offline. Like, Kyle and I was talking about the fact that I thought most of the teams that. Most of the people that have been giving the Jaguars like crap or let's say backhanded compliments or those packaged compliments, they always have a layer of, but it's still the Jaguars, or a slight or a comment. It has to be packaged with some joke or some jab at the Jaguars because of the history that's kind of packaged in with it, deleting the fact that this ain't the same team, and it feels very obvious. Like outside of maybe Pat McAfee. Everybody else, because he has the association and he's closely watching. Everybody else is just like, they ain't watching. They're gonna just say something, even when they say something nice, it's gonna be something nice. But they're gonna suck in the playoffs. But it's gonna be something else.
I'll say this part. I'll even take that at this point as somebody who covers the Jacks. Granted, not a member of the Duval Devout, which shouts to Chaz in the comments. I don't see Duval Devout much in the comments. I had to throw it shout. But the Duval Devout will at least, you don't have to agree with me, but you'll at least see where I'm coming from as an outsider. Okay. I would make this point, and no, I'm not saying you're as bad as the Cleveland Browns. I'm not saying that. But whenever you see the Browns win a game, you get that kind of, okay, well, the clock's right twice a day kind of moment. Let's remember, ladies and gentlemen, that the last time the Jags won back-to-back double-digit seasons, okay, we're talking 99. All right. The previous double-digit season was not that far, but it ain't like it's recent, right? And I think it's that element of people haven't believed yet. Now,
distrust. Okay.
Yeah. Now, that being said, it'll be very nice to see what this group does playing with house money and that assurance. That respect ain't coming. Sheep King comes in reminding me about 2017. Yeah, I think that is the answer. Travis would know better than I do.
2017 wasn't 2 years in a row, was it? Like it
wasn't 2 years in a row, but it was the last double digit.
It was the last double digit season, I guess. And I don't know, was that a double digit season?
Did they have 10 in 22? I don't remember now. But
yeah, neither do I. But it's fine. Let's get into this because we at least talked about the Trevor Lawrence stuff. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, and we're 20 minutes in. This is crazy. Doug Clawson, NFL, says Trevor Lawrence is the fourth player in NFL history with 10 total TDs and 0 turnovers in a 2-game span. I'll check out the rest of that list. 2024 Josh Allen, 2019 Drew Brees, and 2018 Pat Mahomes.
Wow.
Ooh, Jesus. If it's anything, if Trevor Lawrence plays anything to any of those levels, you're probably in the Super Bowl. And I don't mean like barely even in it. Like you're in that with multiple dominant victories in the playoffs, probably. Like Josh Allen still had Pat Mahomes to deal with, but that mutant. But overall, that's some really high level dang NFL play. And Trevor Lawrence obviously has a very good defense behind him on top of it. So like, I thought that was a real interesting little nugget.
No, I think that's a good one too. When you start breaking what Trevor Lawrence has done this season and putting it in context, it's interesting the names that pop up. And I'm gonna play this card again and again. I don't know that I even believe it myself fully, but this concept of him having that coaching struggle early in his career, I think hid what was really there the whole time. I'm going to keep saying I can't rule it out.
Yeah, you say coaching struggle. I mean, you can say coaching malpractice. That's fine. Like,
I was saying,
it was there. It was there.
One of the worst NFL coaching performances of all time, and a coach that refused to understand that he didn't have 3 offensive lineman Hall of Famers in his roster like he did in Philly. Yes, I said.
As soon as Trevor Lawrence made the comments in this preseason when he had the interview with, you know what? I don't want to mistake the podcast he was on, but when he made the comments, something along the lines of, it was my first coming into the NFL was my first time having to be under center, having to learn the offense, having to do all those things. And I'm like, wait, what? I had to rewind it because I thought I misheard it. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So then your entry into the NFL is Urban Meyer and no real offensive coordinator. And then trying to figure out how to run an NFL offense under center from that way. And then you realize, oh, that's why they're not even running quarterback sneaks. And that's why a lot of the things downstream happened. And then you get paired with Doug Peterson, who doesn't want to actually change his offense. It was 2 really dang bad fits because they didn't want to modernize the offense. And now you see what you see in just half of a season, similar to 2022. It took half of a season for him to kind of figure that out. And that wasn't even in a good offense, but at least it took him half of the year. Same thing now, takes him half of the year. As the bye week goes on, we're just seeing a different Trevor Lawrence. And speaking of, you said, looking at the list of guys, Daniel Griffiths, Action Sports Jack, shout out friend of the pod, Daniel Griffiths, says the most single season TDs by Jaguars quarterbacks is led by 2015 Blake Bortles with 37, but Trevor Lawrence is second with 33. 33 touchdowns with 2 games to go. So Trevor Lawrence, who just scored 10 touchdowns in the past 2 weeks, realistically has a legitimate shot. Like, and it's not even a crazy thing to say he might have a 4 touchdown and a 3 touchdown game to be the first Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback to hit 40 touchdowns. Like, that's my goal for him now. Like, I hope they win, obviously, but yeah, win scoring 40 touchdowns. It's a nice little thing to be like, all right, yeah, I can do that Baker Mayfield thing too from 2024. Like,
you know what's crazy to me? I'll see that. I know we don't have it prepped up, and I'm just remembering it just now. With that Denver win, I believe that makes Liam Coen the 5th winningest Jaguars head coach in franchise history.
That's so terrible.
What is this?
It's good for him. It's good for him.
Why people are thinking, but it's just the Jags. But Liam Coen is here to break that. Right? Let that sink in. But this is why I'm throwing that.
Jesus. I hope that's not true. I hope that's not true at all, because that's rough. Boy. And yeah, speaking of, I mean, we talked about, like, on Sunday's podcast on the post game, we talked about Trevor Lawrence. He had the 5 sacks, and you know how I'm generally a quarterback's the sacks are a quarterback stat kind of person. That's normally where I go. But this week, actually, I thought it was different because I think 3 of the 5 sacks actually fell on the offensive line, where they were like immediate. Like, the pressure was immediate, and it was mostly from the interior. So I kind of wanted to talk about that because, again, if I'm wrong, I like to admit that I'm wrong after I look at the film. I have my general rules, and sometimes those rules are broken when you play against a team that's playing a little different. But also, and we are going to take a look at this on Friday, I think Denver's defense, whenever they rush 4, they cage rush. They weren't trying to get home with the edges. And if someone else goes back to the film and tells me I'm wrong, I would love to see it. But again, we're going to bring the film to Friday's podcast previewing the Colts game. And it didn't seem like Nick Manito and those edges were always trying to crash. It seemed like both defenses, both Jaguars and the Broncos, were nervous about the running ability of both quarterbacks, of both Bo Nix and Trevor Lawrence. So they, instead of trying to bend the corner all the time, a lot of the times it felt like they were just trying to make the quarterbacks throw the ball. But whatever. That's just my takeaway from looking at the film.
Well, and hey, listen, is that such a bad idea if you're actually challenging Trevor Lawrence?
I mean, it is a bad idea when he shreds your defense, but sure. Yeah, we can, with hindsight, we can say that. But looking at the film, those 5 sacks, I thought, like, on the first one, where Trevor Lawrence actually rolled out and actually it gets considered a sack and it's more like a run play, I thought the offensive line actually did well. Like, the only one that even got moved a little bit was Cole Van Lannon with Nick Benito in his chest. But I think he was reasonably fine as far as the timing. There was just nobody open downfield. It's a coverage sack.
And we talked about that. We talked about that on the Duval Dive Live Sunday. let's give a little credit to this defense. They're really good. I think Trevor's right that they'll come across them again.
They get paid too. But no, I mean, and even on the second sack, it was another situation where Trevor was trying to run the ball. The offensive line didn't really give up a lot of interior pressure or anything like that. Now that third sack, Jesus, that was rough. I mean, I can't. There's nothing else to say.
It just says Jesus. Okay.
Pat McCarry just gets beat across his face, and it is.
But this is also the play where he got hurt. I think that's a factor, or at least he came off the field after that.
You know, that's the play. That is the play he got hurt. That's fair. I'm just pointing out that that's rough.
Oh no, it was just an absolute win based on hand fighting, and I'm not going to use the word embarrassing, but boy, that is a tough loss when you do that.
Yeah, and then the fourth sack was very similar. It was just a muddy pocket kind of time where Trevor's trying to just make his way through it, and then you get the fourth one. Well, you have a situation where like Anton Harrison misses his block, but in all honesty, if Anton Harrison keeps his feet underneath him, he's probably able to block not one but two of those guys. Because it's play action, they just caught him in the right time, and at the end of the day, 3 of those 4 sacks came on third down. Like, and then you know how I feel about that.
Back. Yeah,
exactly. You're peeling your ears back, and at the end of the day, if the quarterback is trying to buy extra time versus throwing it away, he doesn't really have that option. Like, okay, cool. So that I don't consider that a terrible day for the offensive line. It kind of is what it is. Like, that's just how I didn't consider it a bad day for the O-line. And I think that's why the numbers look like they look at the end of the day, despite the fact that it's 5 sacks. And normally when you see 5 sacks, you feel like that's a bad day for the O-line, if that makes sense.
And in normal situations, I could see that. I'm not here to say it's a good day, but it's not as bad as 5 sacks would advertise. Yeah. And I'll even add this. I think an element of it is Trevor seeing something happen on one side, feeling like there was enough protection to maybe turn something into a run. And let's give a little credit to this. Again, Denver is a good defense. We keep making this point. We certainly did on Sunday on the Duval Hype Live. That they may sometimes just win. And it's okay.
Well, defense gets paid too. It is what it is. Sometimes they're going to have the right check, the right blitz, whatever it is at the right time. And you're just going to be stuck in the play call that you called from the sideline. And it just didn't work for that scenario. It's going to happen. It is what it is. But on the run side of the offensive line play, because again, the game don't just come down to the passing game. Well, the Jaguars averaged 1.7 yards per carry on their 13 first and 7+ carries versus Denver. So that's the first down and long, basically, like first and 10, like most series start. And this is after Monday Night Football. It didn't update. It was 28th out of 32 teams, basically. That's 13 total runs for 22 yards versus the Denver Broncos' number 2 rated defense. Like, it was not a great day on the early downs. I'm going to be willing to acknowledge that. But also, I want to admit when I'm wrong. And after checking out the game film, like we talked, Jacksonville struggled on the ground, but Denver also had 8 guys in the box on 6 of Jacksonville's first down runs, those 13 runs.
Great point.
Now, matter of fact, on 50% of Jacksonville's 68 offensive snaps, Denver had a stacked or a neutral box with 7 or 8 guys in the box. So Denver knew Jacksonville wanted to establish the run, and they schemed to take it away. And you guys talked about that. You talked about that on Sunday's podcast, and I said, I don't know. I didn't have a real grasp on it. Wanted to see the film. Yeah, you said it. Michael Clinton said it. You know, my offensive line guys, y'all both mentioned that balance was the key in Denver. John Osher and the guys on Jags AM. They discussed the threat of a run game sometimes being just as effective as actually having a run game in itself because it lightens the load for the passing game. Well, a stacked box with aggressive linebackers kind of means you're susceptible to the play action. You're susceptible to the early down passing game. So from that perspective, I actually do agree with you guys. And I will admit that I was wrong on that. Like, I thought they struggled, but they did have to continue running the ball into that
to keep them,
to keep them honest. But watching it wasn't like it was bad blocking. It was just always a free guy. And that was because they did have extra blockers. But that's what I'm saying. First, you got to learn that. That's it. First, you got to learn Dallas Danielson. And that's it. The Jacoby Myers deep crosser, the Brenton Strange big play, none of those plays likely happen without the threat to a run game because Brenton Strange just comes up the middle through the A gap. And look at the first step of the linebacker. He's downhill. That don't happen if you don't have at least the threat of a run game, because they're not going to play you fair. They're not going to play you honest. So, like, from that perspective, you had gains of 23 yards, 25 yards, and 11 yards out of play action on early downs. Those big explosives don't happen if you're not giving that play action looks, if that makes sense.
No, it absolutely does. Because, it sounds like you're talking about, you're sounding like you're talking about why Trevor worked against the Jets as well as they did. And the point you yourself, a really wise man who I call champion once said, you yourself mentioned that Denver does the same thing, right? And that balance piece, granted, I wasn't even thinking as we were having that talk about balance in that show, I wasn't necessarily thinking about setting up Trevor. I did make that point separately in the show elsewhile. But again, it's not like they didn't have crucial runs either, because this is where the honesty is truly kept. Okay, well, we'll sit back. Trevor's beating us a little bit. Oh, damn it. They got a good run. We can't do that, and it's that flux on the defense that makes it very difficult. You're a DB. If you don't know which step you got to take, I'm already up a step on you by, football 101, because I know when the snap count is. Now you're down 2 steps because you don't know where to go first. It's a whole thing. I'm with you on that.
No, man, you guys and the film sold me. I mean, they
the film. I get it, dude. I'm by that.
I'm a trust but verify guy. I might believe you, but I'm gonna believe you a lot more when I see it. So I believe you with my shana now. That's it.
My shana now. I like it. See, I'm not even offended, bro. This dude trusts and even verifies his wife. I'm just saying, like, it's a thing.
Hey man, my wife trusts and verify with me. And if she didn't, we wouldn't need to be together. That's what it is.
It don't have to be a one-way street. I didn't mean to apply that. My apologies.
Nah, man, but they struggled on the ground for sure. But with who they were playing and kind of how Denver played them, it was sort of going to be an inconsistent run game type of grounded out, like just trying to grind it out, figure it out, if that makes sense, kind of day. But if the passing game was going to work, then they needed Travis Etienne to walk so Trevor Lawrence could fly. Like, that's the best way I can say it.
That's a great way to say it. Clip that. I like that. Listen, here's where I'm at with it. It's funny to me that you were arguing with me about it, but you called it happening when you were talking about it after the Jets game leading into this. It's man, listen, film helps you find Shanana. I'm good with that. What's next, Travis?
Hey man, well, we got it always. Whenever we said it going into the game, it was going to happen. But it's always interesting to see it after the fact. Like Liam on his Monday, in both his Monday presser and his post-game presser, he talked about the fact that they identified Parker Washington as being a potential matchup advantage for Jacksonville on the late downs. That was on his whiteboard going into the week, and Trevor was off the charts. Like, he was having a really sharp day. So hats off to Coen first for making the multiple reads easy. Like that 63-yarder to Parker Washington. Like, let's just get into that one. So look at the first thing before we even talk about what actual play. Look at how quickly Trevor Lawrence gets the ball out.
Right out.
This is immediately. He
about
immediately,
a second and a half, it looks like.
One half step. He immediately knows right now, I'm throwing to Parker Washington because of the alignment that I'm getting on defense. That's before we talk about the fact that Parker Washington turned a 7-yard gain into a 63-yard gain because he got incredible salsa hips. Like, we are talking about the fact that Liam set him up early to let him know, hey, you can throw this screen at the top that we've already thrown twice in the game. Or you can have this free lunch. We've talked about this all season. This team specializes in picking up the free change. If they see us available, and this is 3rd and 3, and you got a corner who is lined up 6 yards, 7 yards off right now, I know right now I've got this, because even if it's man-on-man coverage, it's going to be a collision right when he catches the ball. We are already good. But the worst part about this is, I said going into the game, this is going to be Joseph Vance, Vance Joseph versus Liam Coen, and Liam Coen won with flying colors because they just happen to be in inverted cover 2 right now. On this play, they were trying to fool Trevor Lawrence with the inverted cover 2, with the Mike linebacker going down the middle of the field and Hufanga, the safety, down, making this look like a cover 3 defense, when in reality he's supposed to be the outside cornerback playing that role, with the cornerback playing a deep half at the bottom. And unfortunately, as a cover 2 corner, any cover 2 corner will tell you everything needs to be inside of me. But because you're trying to disguise the coverage at the bottom, you can't do that. So you screwed yourself, son. You played yourself. Like, unfortunately, it was just one of those situations where it happens where the offensive guy gets the right play call for your defense that you happen to be in. Liam Coen won that round, and they won the game because of it. Like, it was really that good of a day.
I mean, of course that play worked, though, Travis. It was Trevor Lawrence's first read, right? That's all he can do.
No, but I say shout out to Liam Coen for making the reads easy. That's what I mean. Like, folks get on me all the time when I said Doug Peterson never gave him layups. That is a layup, and it might not look very much like it, but it's a screen to one side or a quick out to the other. And you've already done that play multiple times, and you know that they're not going to put you in a press man situation at the outside corners. So you already know walking into this 9 times out of 10, you know your play call. Catch the ball, throw it to him. Catch the ball, throw it to him. Trevor Lawrence took that ball and was like, "Oh, that's my B." Boom, boom. Ball gone. 6 yards turn. Either it was already going to be a first down. Now it's turned into a 63-yard game. That's because of Liam Coen. They found the matchup they liked, and then they peppered him with targets. 10 targets in the game, Parker Washington. And all 5 of Parker Washington's third down catches came against Jaquan McMillan, 2, Riley Moss, 2, and 1 busted coverage with Denver. They were blitzing, I guess, on that the other third down that Parker went down the sideline, and he's like wide open.
And well, I see well, we're going to talk about it later. There's another one I wanted to bring up, but we'll get to it in the clip soon enough, I'm sure.
I don't know, man. That was surgical. It was a surgical planned demolition of an NFL top secondary, and you just don't see that often, man.
I mean, I'll put it this way. It's certainly a lot more surgical than Parker out there somewhere.
Speaking of Parker out there somewhere, nobody's talking about this, and I don't know why I'm always the person that notices stuff that nobody ain't talking about.
I was about to say it. Go ahead.
Parker down there somewhere. Why is nobody talking about the fact that Patrick Surtain obviously and blatantly tackled Parker Washington? Like, no. I'm a DB, so game recognized game. I'm always going to respect the DB when he's beat. He's like, hey man, 7 is better than 15, and that's what he did. He said, 15 is better than 7. He reached out with both hands and grabbed this man's ankles to make sure he did not continue running, and that's what causes Parker Washington to trip in the middle of that route. It was a savvy veteran move, and instead of getting the 15-yard penalty or the 30-yard penalty in this case, the refs didn't even throw a flag, so it just resulted in an incompletion for Trevor Lawrence. No, man, that was beat, and he knew it.
So
nothing happened.
Any of you members of the Duval Devout that saw Parker Washington drop that ball were like, man, he must be tripping. Yeah, he was. Literally. With 2 hands of the defender under his sleeve, trying to trip him. But I've been pained because we talk so much about offense, because it stinks, because we all kind of knew in this game, like going into it, that the outcome of this game was going to kind of rest on whether or not the offense was going to be clicking on all cylinders on Sunday, right? Like, I think that's a fair way of walking into this. Here's how I would say it. One would certainly think the Dolphins had the higher mountain to climb than stopping Bo Nix.
I mean, that's it. They were facing the top 3 defense in points surrendered and the number 1 in yards coming into the week. So, like, the Denver offense also had put on tape multiple games where they scored like nearly nothing against some bad or some average defenses. 20 points. 20 points against Tennessee, and 20 points against the Chargers. 13 points against the Jets. 10 points against the Raiders.
I was about to bring that one up. Yep.
Yeah. So that's not to take away that the defense did have a good day. It's just to say the expectations, to your point, was higher on the offense, considering the competition.
And I'm not going to cheapen it, but let's be honest. That fumble that they had, I don't know how much of that you put on the Jags defense beyond Johnny on the spot. Let's be real. Yourself on that one. You know what I'm saying?
Let Emmanuel Ogba get his fumble recovery, bro.
Great job for Ogba. That in the pass defended, excellent day for him. Zero-ish talk. But come on, bro. Parker Washington did a bit more on his end. That's all I'm saying.
So, I mean, I want to give them at least some of those shout outs. And we're going to talk a lot more about the defense on Friday's Duval Dive game preview, because there's so much to talk. There's so much to get into on that one. Just with the Colts getting DeForest Buckner back. Let's start there. That does change that defense, and that makes them a lot more dangerous. But also, I'm gonna give my guys credit. Like Montero Brown, I need any excuse to see this play again, because he's beat because they're doing a trick play. and he just continues to run through the contact, the fight with the ball is squarely in Cortland Sutton's hands, and he fights through the ground. And that's just one heck of a play, because if they score there, that changes the whole dynamic of that game. Like it was so good. And then the Jaguars defensive line, like they did their thing. They bowled out of control. Even the fact that they only had the one sack, BJ Green getting credited for his, and even the one sack wasn't really a sack, if you know what I mean. Bo Nix is running out of bounds, trying to throw the ball away, steps on the out of bounds line, and BJ Green just happened to be the nearest guy to it.
We make fun of this, but we mentioned it last week here on the Duval Dive, Travis.
Right.
That this group pressures might be enough to cause mistakes, and it did.
It did. And even so, the pressures aren't a bad thing in this game, because again, I thought both defenses were trying to cage rush often. Like when they weren't blitzing, like when it was just 4 rushers, frequently these guys would get level with the quarterback, and instead of trying to run the hoop, they would stop at the edge and just look at the guy, try to see if they can disengage from the offensive lineman without getting out of position, because they were scared that he was going to run the ball because of that athleticism that we've seen. So, like, I don't blame them for not necessarily loading up on sacks. I understand why it happened, but I hope other folks, I guess, kind of understand that same thing. The refs, but yeah, they only got the one sack again, BJ Green, and it wasn't really a sack, but also the refs did kind of steal his original sack when he power drove Justin Herbert. He DDT'd him, whatever it was. Yeah, so you get it where you can get it. You get your sack where you get it. It's kind of a weird game to kind of get your first sack, but it is what it is. But yeah, we'll look more into the Russian stuff on Friday. Again, I think that's going to be a real fun one. But they were low. The numbers were lower than I think Denver's were, because Denver's also just blitzed a lot more. But Trevor also kind of shredded them on those blitzes when it was either a sack or a big play, and there was no in between.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
All right. I'm gonna get some playoff talk. I know they want to talk about it.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, and I want to give the Duval divers in the comments out there. There've been a few of the Duval devout that have wanted to get your opinion on stuff, and I wanted to get your breakdown. And I'm looking, first of all, Chaz in the comments here. What do you honestly think about this run, man? We are officially in the playoffs, says Chaz in the comments.
We are officially in the playoffs, and unfortunately, I'm a weird person where I never look back until it's over. So I'm no. You know it's true, Kyle. You know me personally, so and my wife, y'all know me personally. I am that type of person. I've had so many accomplishments. I could write a book, and it's crazy because I have to say something, and I have to be reminded about something I did, and I'm like, oh crap, that's right, I did do that. Oh, that's crazy. And then it's like, oh, you never celebrate the small things. Nah, I don't. I look back when I'm dead. But in the meantime, I feel like the same way with the Jaguars. I'm not even caring about the fact that they clinched the playoffs, even though I know it's a huge accomplishment, because I'm focused on like the number 1 seed. Now it's the next thing.
Do I have to type the sign? I'm going to tap the sign for him again for you, Travis.
Still waiting for a big smile. Still waiting for a big smile out of you. You're up 2-0. What's the story? Are you not happy, or you're only half happy, or?
Still to be happy about.
You're up 2-0.
Job's not finished. Job finished? I don't think so.
Okay.
Anybody who thinks I put that in there, you're wrong. Okay.
It's that insatiable spirit, bro. It is what it is. I don't know about it, but no, I mean, I'm thinking it's a great run, and I'm happy to see it working out. The success of this organization, both the head coach, the general manager, the EVP, all of those guys, but also the players themselves, because they've seen the down and dumps, and now they can see what success feels like, and you can see these guys like truly being developed, like across the board, all the intermingling pieces. I think it's pretty dope to see happening, but also how far will the Jags go?
See how I transitioned into a loaded question there in the comments, right into that, just to see. This is my talent as a co-host. You can forego answering. I will say a couple things because I know you don't want to be on the hook for it yet. And hey, I don't want to.
I will eventually, but go ahead.
I'm going to say something controversial up front. The most dangerous AFC team still clearly in the playoff hunt that we all is pretty sure has the best quarterback.
Yeah.
I think it's not really a problem for the Jags. I said what I said.
The most dangerous quarterbacks aren't even in the postseason.
No. The one left, I said.
Oh, no. I know. But that's where I'm landing because a lot of the times the most dangerous quarterback in most years have been in the AFC.
Patrick Mahomes II, Joey Burr, Lamar Demetrius Jackson. I get it. Josh Allen's still alive.
Josh Allen's still alive, but that team is not it.
Deep down, I really think Josh Allen is worried about Josh Allen on Josh Allen crime. And I know it's Josh Hines Allen. Now shut up. I said what I said. He's worried about Josh Allen on Josh Allen crime. And then you mention that lingering team that don't have the defense like they used to against the best Jaguars offense that he might have to try to outduel in his career. Yeah, I like their chances there.
So the interesting thing is, because I do these radio shows that's not Jaguars related, that's not Jaguar centric, like Inside the Pigskin and those guys, but South Florida Tribune, I can say this as someone who is a supporter of this team, as a beat writer for this team, that I absolutely hope that the Jacksonville Jaguars go to not only the AFC Championship, but also the Super Bowl, because of course I freaking do. But but can I honestly say that if you're an outsider looking in, that this team is not very similar in a lot of ways to that Buffalo Bills team? I don't know that I can. And what I mean by that is, like, it's a great team as far as the records are concerned, and it's a team that has been led by a quarterback who was playing at a really dang high level. But outside of that quarterback playing at a high level, I have questions that I can point out on the defensive side of the ball. I have questions that I can point out as far as the wide receivers are concerned, and I have questions that I can point out of even in the run game if you're going week by week, matchup by matchup, depending on the team you're playing against. Sure. And that's what makes this thing a little funky for me. So overall, again, I believe that it can beat most teams in the AFC, nearly every team in the AFC, frankly, this year, because most of the more difficult teams are the ones in the AFC as far as the quarterback is concerned. But if you're talking Super Bowl, like real Super Bowl conversation, you got to slay a dragon. You got to beat the Seahawks or beat the Rams more likely than not. And we've seen this team play both of those teams, not this version of the Jaguars, sure, but we have seen this team struggle against that defensive line for both of those squads. And we saw the Rams beat them in a weird, very unique way that I'm not sure what to take from that game, honestly, in London. So because of that, I'm just like, the Jaguars can go as far as the AFC Championship and maybe even go to the Super Bowl, but it'd be more like the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Philadelphia Eagles, where the better team, the more stacked roster, can just play you man on man, or can just play you isolation runs right up the middle, and you can't stop it. If that makes sense. So
what I hear you saying is you're optimistic that this version of the Jaguars may get further than anyone you've ever seen. Anyone's literally ever seen. That's all. Oh, well, that sucks.
I would love for the Jaguars to be in their first Super Bowl. That would be a progress. But I would more love for the lawn crew on that week heading into that Super Bowl to wet the field like they did the first time the Kansas City Chiefs played against the Philadelphia Eagles, to slow down the other team who may have an advantage. And then all of a sudden the Jaguars will win their first Super Bowl. I would like that very, very much. So I think that'd be a reasonable situation.
I'm going to bring in Robert off the top rope. This is a comment I haven't heard enough, and I'm actually embarrassed I haven't made it myself.
Okay.
Robert comes in. I love having coaches starting Cole Van Lannon ahead of a $15 million swing tackle. Yo.
I mean, we always thought, this is the funny part about this conversation. So let's have this one.
I'm just saying we're not talking about it enough.
No. Give me a second. We're going to set it up.
Yeah.
We always thought early in the offseason that it was Tyson Campbell and Monteric Brown starting at cornerback, right? We thought, and then Monteric Brown got hurt. And then it was Jarian Jones or Jordan Lewis. You figure out what it was going to be based on how everything was going to kind of play itself out within this competition. What if the entire dang time, what if it was Monteric Brown and Tyson Campbell? Hear what I'm saying? Not Tyson Campbell and Monteric Brown. What if it was always hey man, we're just playing the best guy, and that just happened to be at that time Monteric Brown? So if in that same vein, what if it was Cole Van Lannon who just couldn't practice in the preseason because of his injury? And then Walker Little, and it just happens that he gets hurt, so Walker Little's your starting guy the entire. Like, we'll never know the answer to that question.
And what's the commonality you're bringing up there with Tyson Campbell?
True competition.
A, B, Tyson Campbell. The aside comment with him was, if he stays healthy, he's supposed to be great, right?
That's an old comment, yeah.
It wasn't that old. It wasn't that old in the offseason.
Well, I'm just saying, like, the actual tape, looking at these guys playing, was Tyson Campbell dominant in the preseason? Was he dominant early on? Was he dominant in camp? He was fine. I'm not going to say he was incredible. It was just the fact that he wasn't noticeable. It wasn't a bad thing. And then the season started, and it was like, oh, this dude getting picked on. Oh, this dude getting picked on a lot. Oh, this ain't going to work. And then it was very obvious to see that Seams had him circled, and it just wasn't going to work. Like, that was a different thing.
Whereas it became obvious Walker Little was getting beaten by stars and some sort of an upgrade needed to take place. But
that was obvious in the preseason. So that, at least I can say that for Walker Little, we knew that. I knew that watching them in practice. Walker Little was a problem. Yeah, but Cole Van Lannon was hurt, so they didn't have an option. Tyson Campbell, at least I had like, oh yeah, he's making plays here and there, and it was just it was fine.
Maybe they could go to Jari, and maybe they can go to Travis. And well, I mean, Travis was still learning the book, so maybe they can go to Mon. Yeah, I see that part's not lost on me. I see that it's an apple, it's an oranges situation in that there were more options at corner. God knows there was a lot more turnover at O-line as well. So you're making a lot of sense for that.
So it made me motivated. And again, you can talk to any Jaguar beat writer like Mia O'Brien. You can talk to John Shipley, Jamal St. Cyr, etc. We've had this conversation with all these guys on the sideline, like, hey, bro, this is real competition. And then I was told early on, hey, man, calm down. You don't know. This might just be like blah, blah, like this might just be like so-and-so former coach who would put certain guys out there early. And I'm like, nah, man, this feels different. It feels like this guy could start. Like, that was the time I started talking about Dewey starting at safety, because I'm like, nah, this feels like this dude could actually start.
You did that. We did that in the preseason editions of the Duval Hype. Completely
because the competition felt real. So now looking at the makeup of this roster, even with Cole Van Lannon, my only question at that time was when we started seeing him truly playing like this, it was like, well, can you really have a competition in the middle of a season? That was my only real question, because the week, many people might not know, the week for an NFL football player, you generally don't have a lot of time for development in season. Like, it's rare. It's a lot. It's chock full of game script and, the classroom activities, and then right out to the field and things of that nature. You don't have the way the rules are set up. You don't have a lot of extra time for the developmental pieces and the time with the coaches, just because you're limited on time on the practice field. So because of that, I'm like, that was my biggest question, is like, how do you have a competition in the season? And then the injury situation just kind of worked this out for the Jaguars, where it's like, nah, man, he showed you on the tape. We don't have to figure out what's happening on the field. We don't have to figure out a competition in preseason. This dude showed you he's at least as good, and for 1/7 of the cost, 1/8 of the cost, give him a chance. And he's kind of shown his way, Cole Van Lannon, so far. Now, he wasn't perfect. We're going to talk about him on Friday again, because he wasn't perfect. He did struggle with power. He struggled with inside moves. And no one that's why a lot of the guys not named Nick Benito end up having moderate success against him, because he's good at riding guys around the corner, not necessarily as good as getting stout when guys hit him in the chest. That's the piece that I'm like, we'll see where that lands as far as when he has guys who can go from speed to power. That's my only real question.
And you might be right back to that self-scout. We talked about this possibility too with Cole Van Lannon, that the self-scout sees something in him where I would think, to your point, Walker Little's a little bit more stone-footed than he. That makes a lot of sense.
Right. Walker Little struggles with speed, and it seems to me, at least based on the Denver tape, that Cole Van Lannon struggles against power when it's guys like John Franklin Myers or the third guys on the Denver defense, which that's not to demean them to say that they're not good or anything like that. They're just
styles. Correct.
They're different styles and average to maybe slightly above average prototype, like normal NFL talent that you're going to see week in and week out. And when the more you put that on tape, the more teams are going to do it against you. Just like the more the teams saw speed work against Walker Little, the more they kept doing that and the more they kept stunting. It's the same thing.
Which is why Walker Little can transition to guard the way that he did, by the way, is because he's good at that power, air quotes.
How did you feel like Walker Little played at guard? I'm curious on this one.
It wasn't bad, but
it wasn't.
It certainly felt like they hit a stride after Makari was out. Now, I'm not saying it's because Makari is bad.
Makari was playing bad. You can say it.
I mean, he's not a bad player, but he was playing bad that day.
We
don't know if it was Denver. We don't know if he was banged up going into this game, which is likely. We don't know it's a combination. We just know that Walker Little was healthier and that the Jags performed better upon Makari's exit. It's all circumstantial evidence, but that's what
fair. No, that's fair. That's fair. Because I thought Walker Little played reasonably fine, but then he had a few busts and I was like, yo, I don't know what just happened. Like, it was one play and I wish I still had the dang tape, and I'll bring it to Friday just so folks can see it. But it was one play where I'm like, dang, he didn't touch anybody. Like, the dude that was lined up right on top of him just came straight through scot-free. Nobody blocked anybody, and Trevor somehow got the ball away. I believe it was the throw and catch to Brenton Strange, where it was just like, dude, I don't know what you're blocking. Like, is there a protection issue? Like, I don't know what happened there, basically.
And if it was a quick release, I'd have to see the play, and this may not be the case, but if it was meant to be that quick a release, the responsibility could have been different to where they might have let the guy in for reason X. And I say that without having seen the play, but I know coaches that will call that on occasion. I don't know if Coen's one.
I would hope this is not one of those coaches, Lord.
I'm about to say, you would tell me if it looked too bad for that to be a possibility, and I'll leave it at that.
No, that's fair. That's fair. All right, so just getting into the playoffs. Like, I enjoyed this on social, so we had to show them out. So the standings obviously have the Jaguars in first place at 11-4, with the Texans one game behind them. Freaking out, thinking that there's a chance that they can still steal this AFC South. Because if the Jaguars were to lose one of these two games and the Texans win out every game out, we've talked about this already, then they would be the AFC South champions due to like the sixth tiebreaker or whatever it is in that line of tiebreakers. But overall, the Jaguars, with the win on Sunday, the Jaguars' chances of becoming division champs rises to 93%. With the loss, it drops to 51%. So yeah, Houston's one game behind. Jacksonville, they have a 52% chance at the number 2 seed if they win out. That was a big takeaway that I had from this one. I was just like, all right, cool. If they get that number 1 seed, is the hard one, because I think that's kind of what everybody in Duval is after right now. Well, if you want that number 1 seed, that's a different conversation, because obviously you're going to need a little bit of help from the Patriots. You're going to need a little bit of help from the Broncos, or I should say, you're going to need a little bit of help from the from the Chargers and from the Dolphins, realistically. The Dolphins, who play against the Patriots in week 18. You got the Chargers, who play against the Broncos in week 18. Meanwhile, the Jaguars will be playing the Tennessee Titans. All 3 teams are playing at home to wrap up the season. That's an interesting little nugget from the NFL schedule makers. I didn't even know. I'm just noticing that just now. So if Jacksonville was to win out, they'd have a 19% chance at a playoff bye, but they'll just need help for those 2 teams for the most part.
Which means, for those who are saying number 1 seed in the comments, you're asking for help from either the Jets or the Dolphins. Good luck with that. That being said,
not the Jets. I mean, the Chargers or the Dolphins. I mean, no, the Chargers.
I mean specific to the 1 seed with the Pats, because if I'd have to look again at the conference.
Jazz got the tiebreaker over the Pats. You only need 1 loss from the Patriots in these 2 games. You only need 1 loss for the Broncos in these 2 games, and you, the Jaguars, will, if you end with the same record, you will hold the tiebreakers over both of those teams.
I mean, and listen, I have said many times on this and other shows, Justin Herbert MVP candidate. I appreciate the faith there. That could be a thing that happens. You're asking me to believe in, I don't know, is Tua still even playing? Like, yeah. Anyways,
the Dolphins fans don't believe in Tua, bro. Like, that's a different one.
I think Chaz trying to get us all riled up here too. Jags Niners Super Bowl. I mean,
that's funny though, because that was actually my preseason bet. When we had David Bierman on, and we had that conversation talking about future bets and everything else, I was like, you know what, I'll throw a few dollars to the Jaguars versus the 49ers in the Super Bowl, just because it's in San Fran. And yeah, I'm not sure how much I win, but I'm sure it's not a small amount, because it was a futures bet for those 2 teams. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean,
Hell, at one point,
I
it
would be
might have
very
been
happy
better.
for that Super Bowl, no
It
matter
might
who
be-
wins.
It might have, yeah, exactly. It might have been better for the dang Niners at that point because they started getting injuries. The stakes might have gone up. I don't. Anyways, yeah, that I just I
No,
don't know.
Chaz asked, are we beating the 44-year-old grandpa? We'll talk about that on Friday.
That's the Friday episode. There you go. But no, guys, we're hitting that hour mark. Thanks for jumping in. A lot of big stuff, a lot of fun stuff. Yeah, I definitely appreciate all you guys coming in. You Duval divers do it every week. Travis D. Holmes, tell the world where you can be found.
Well, you can find me on all the socials. Obviously, Travis D. Holmes, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all. But that's not important. You know where you can find me. More importantly, you can find my writing covering the Jacksonville Jaguars at BigCatCountry.com. Please take a look at the Big Cat Country article talking about the fact that the Pro Bowl is just one more little piece of bulletin board material for the Jacksonville Jaguars locker room because they ain't watching. The actual title of the article is that they're not watching. 11-4 Jags awarded a single Pro Bowler. And it's just one more thing to let you know that disrespect is going to stay here forever. The respect ain't coming. Go steal the show. Duval. But yeah, if you're listening to the sound of my voice on the audio side, please rate and review us on wherever you catch our podcast, the Duval Dive. And if you're listening to us on the YouTube, please click that like button and please comment and help us out there. That algorithm, it keeps these things moving along. And that's because you guys keep this thing moving along, keep commenting, keep liking. We appreciate you guys, Duval, till we die. And let them know where you can be found, kind sir.
Chugging closer and closer to that 1,000 subscriber mark, guys. Keep it up. We appreciate your help with that. And what can I say? That will help us keep doing the thing longer. I have to reconvince my wife every year. Hey, I'm still covering sports. It's a whole thing. Anyways, of course, I'm Kyle Nash, the student of the game. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as a student of the game. Check out my writings covering the UCF Knights football and basketball, black and gold banneret, as well as my work with the Night Shift podcast and my coverage of the Orlando Magic. So all of you out there, thank you very much. May you please have the happiest of holiday. All you divers, keep talking. Yeah. I'm excited. Love it. My man, Travis D. Holmes, you Duval divers, we will see you Friday. And as they say, we're along with you as they all make it live. But happy holidays to you from the Duval Dive.